So our next guest that is joining Ivan is someone who I know very well, Andrew Liddell. I could talk about him all day. I just want to give everybody some context. Andy's on track to sell 120 properties this year, but I don't actually think that's the impressive part. The impressive part is that he's got 4 kids, an amazing team, and usually when you hear things like this person's the best at this, that's where it stops, like that's the best person at this. But what I can tell you is Andy's the best agent I know, he's the best father I know, he's the best friend that I know, he's the best leader that I know, he's one of the fittest and healthiest people that I know. Like, I could go on and on. He's the real deal, and I feel really honoured to be able to invite him up onto the stage and hear his conversation with Ivan.
Andy boy. Hi, mate. How are you?
Good, good.
Beautiful introduction, as expected by Adrian. I hope everyone had a good break. This is the second half now, so we're just getting warmed up. How'd that feel, mate? Hearing Adrian, because you guys have got such a good bond, and he speaks so highly of you.
Yeah. Look, it's overly generous, but it's nice to hear. And I think if everyone was fortunate enough to have someone like Adrian in their corner that championed them the way that he champions me, they'd be very lucky. So I feel very blessed.
Yeah, it's good, great combo and great brotherhood that you guys seem to have. So Adrian mentioned how the level that Andrew and his team have got to this year, which is not surprising to people who know you well. But just give everyone a bit of. You started pretty youngish. You bounced around from a McGrath to a Sarah Lawden's, I think, or to Hastings. Did you?
It was Sarah Lawden for 12 months, and then I was. Quick story. Cut me off if it's too long.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I know you will. I know you will. I got into Sarah Lawden. I was determined to do well. I didn't quite know what to do, so I met with Damien Corley in Double Bay. Damien was this sort of rock star, he still is, and I met Damo and I said, mate, I'm determined. What can I do to progress my career as quickly as possible?
Yep.
And he said, be a nice person, be someone that people want to deal with, and look after buyers. And that was long before BresicWhitney, so I thought, okay, cool, I don't have any listings, so I'll look after buyers. So I was looking after buyers, and then Adrian became a buyer. And I was at a competing agency, but he was a buyer. And I thought, okay, cool, this will be my opportunity to look after someone as a buyer. So I was in communication with him. He missed out on a property that we were selling. And then I called him after the auction and I said, mate, look, I know obviously you're far more progressed than I am, but if we have something coming up off market or that I think you should be aware of, I'll let you know. And then wasn't long after that, he'd obviously mentioned to Matt and Danny at Cobden Hasten that they should talk to me. And so I followed Adrian to Cobden Hasten and had a great sort of 4 or 5 years there.
Yep.
And then he left to start BresicWhitney Balmain, and I couldn't help myself and followed him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And BW's got 5 offices now, but the Balmain office seems to, they're quite fortunate that they've got you and Adrian there as the leaders, and you're both very strong transactionally, and then you've got this strong bond. I think there's 2 types of agents. There's more relationship type agents, which is kind of like an Oddie, and then there's the heavy prospecting type agent, which is kind of what I was. You're more, which style? Relationship or prospector?
Probably for the first 10 years prospecting,
yeah,
for sure, because I didn't have a profile, a track record. So the way I sort of thought was the way to move forward was to make calls, look after buyers, inspect other open homes, attend auctions, do all the sort of basics. Now I have a bit of profile, so that certainly helps, and I probably don't have to prospect as much, although I am still prospecting. So certainly for the first 10 years, it was very much outward bound energy. going into the market.
Yeah, I think you're a heavy prospector and a call type guy. Don't get me wrong, if you're a relationship type agent, you still have to prospect. If you're stronger on the prospecting side, you've still got relationship stuff. You can't have none of both. You've had a big year. You spoke at ARIC. You're a pretty popular speaker at ARIC. I mean, that's the feedback I got. How come you think you were popular? Like what? Because you were on the 20 minutes. Why do you think people respond well to your style and things? Your story?
Well, I suppose I can only go on the feedback that I've had, so this isn't necessarily my view on things. But I think I do things perhaps slightly differently. My focus is just as heavily on my family and my relationship with my wife as it is on my business. So I do my very best, as difficult as it is, to try and give each one equal time. And so I think the feedback that I've had is that as opposed to just talking about GCI and phone calls and how many sales I've done, it's more about making sure that my family, my children, and my wife's a priority as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like 4 kids. How old are they now?
3-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl, and a 10-year-old boy.
It's really amazing. Like 4 kids, and a lot of us, still trying to find the time to progress. And I know I've got one. I know how hard it can be, but to have 4 kids and to perform at this level and to continue, what do you think drives you? Because all the guys who are on stage have done really well. They've had that in it, something that's driven them. Why have you been so driven? What's the thing that makes you?
I'd say I'm pretty competitive. I got into the industry and I made a conscious effort to surround myself with people who are always performing better than me. And really, I said this at ARIC, but because Adrian and I started together so long ago, and he's always been sort of 5 years my senior, certainly in age, but also in career. I was really fortunate to have this sort of carrot almost that was dangled in front of me, and I was always so desperate to be even remotely close to Adrian's performance and his career. So I think I've been driven. I've been consistent. I think consistency for me in everything I do in life is really important to sort of keep me centred.
Consistency is a big one. Like I was just thinking while you said that, consistency gives you freedom, which is what your ability then to. What was one of the challenges? Like when we think about that, because I knew you as a really solid agent, who was very committed, and a young father. 8 years ago, 9 years ago. A lot of these people probably didn't know who you were then. But then, what was the hard thing as you were going through that phase, like going from 20 sales to 50 and 50 to 70? What were you battling with during a lot there?
I think I spent a lot of time comparing myself to others.
Yep.
Because I was so determined to grow and to improve, I would spend a lot of time focusing on, well, she's doing better than me or he's doing better than me, and I found that I found that motivating at times, but for a lot of it, it was distracting and actually demotivating because it was never enough. So I would do things like, I'd punch in Dib Chidiac real estate and see how many sales he'd done for the month, and of course that doesn't bring any sort of joy. So I would get, as I became an owner of the business, I would see all the numbers in the business. Macleay sold God knows how many, Will's done this, Adrian's done this, and of course it didn't really sort of help my headspace. So I tried to focus on myself and my own journey, because everyone's journey is very different. Some have got 4 kids, some have got none, some are married, some are not. And so for me to sit there and compare myself and my journey to others was unfair on myself. And I thought to myself, if I can focus on what I can control, do the little things right. There's that famous photo of Michael Phelps swimming, and he's out in front, and I think he's doing butterfly. He must be doing butterfly. He's out in front, and he's got his head straight towards the finish line, and his 2 competitors are just behind him, but they're looking at him. And I think that analogy of Phelpsy was determined just to sort of focus on what he can control and what he's doing, as opposed to looking at everyone around him.
Yeah. So how did you deal with that? Because I reckon everybody in this room at some point or regularly does compare themselves to others, because we all know what everyone else is doing, and we're driving past signboards and it's an industry conversation. What's your advice to dealing with that if you're going through a period where you keep, comparing yourself to others who may be doing a bit better?
Again, I just think that, well, you have to first work out what's important to you and where you actually want to get to. Now, I'm desperate to continue to perform and exceed the previous year, but I also know that the decision that my wife and I have made around our lifestyle, which is family, holidays, et cetera, the time and commitment that I can make to the business has a threshold to it. And so I think it's first and foremost working out what's important to you, working out how much sacrifice you are prepared to make, because this industry definitely comes with a lot of sacrifice. And then from there, implementing a plan. And if what's important to you is selling 150 properties a year and you want to work 6 days a week and you don't want holidays and you don't want to spend time with your kids, then that's fine. Equally, if you want to work 4.5 days a week and sell 40 a year, that's also wonderful. So I think it has to be an individual thing, because again, I spent too much time trying to work out how Adrian did it, how McClay did it, how Will Phillips did it, how you did it, but everyone does it differently. And so I think the most important thing is just to focus on what's important to you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I've always said, like he's someone as a human, he's just a good human. Like he's actually a trustworthy person. And I always felt that. You could feel that. And, that comes at a time when real estate agents, have sometimes bad reputations or we're misjudged. But like, mate, you're very trustworthy. You must come from a good family.
Yeah, good family. I got wonderful parents. My mother would tell you that. I've got an incredible wife. She really is my sort of silver bullet or secret, in the sense that, again, the real estate business can be brutal. Lots of highs, lots of lows, and I've been very fortunate that my home life has remained so consistent. It requires effort and energy and time and consideration, and even still, I was just saying to someone before, I'm now on this sort of new path where I feel like I have been pretty considerate at home, but I reckon I could be more. And now I'm thinking to myself, if I listen to 10 podcasts a week, right now they're all real estate or business or success podcasts, but last week I was listening to a podcast on perimenopause, of all things. So I'm trying to work out how can I be a great husband, how can I be a great father, how can I be a great agent. It is difficult to get all the buckets at a reasonable level, but I think it's evolution and constantly thinking about it.
Best form of prospecting, as far as you're concerned?
Open homes.
Open homes?
Yeah.
Because?
Because I think people are there for a reason. Now, sometimes that reason is next week because they're there to interview agents and assess how people operate. Sometimes they're there because they're assessing the market, but they're not ready for 3 years. But I think if you can qualify an open home properly, there is absolute gold in there. Absolutely, I can
qualify me.
Qualify you?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I was just walking past and saw I thought I'd come and have a look at the home.
Yeah. But buying or browsing?
Buying.
Buying.
Yeah.
Are you working towards a particular time frame? Do you want to buy before Christmas?
Not necessarily. Could be in the new year. Market's coming off.
Yeah. Okay. And bedroom-wise, accommodation?
3-bed, 2-bath parking.
Okay. What have you missed? Have you bid on anything or made offers?
No, but we saw the Smith Street house. We weren't, in a financial position then. That was probably the best one we've seen.
If you were still looking in 12 months' time, would that bother you?
Oh, I think I definitely want to buy something before then.
Okay.
I don't want to be a tenant for 3 years.
Okay. So you're renting at the moment?
I am.
Okay. Price point, what level don't you want to go above?
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
I might have something coming up off market. It's probably more like 3.8. It's 2 weeks away. Is that worth sharing with you, or am I going to waste your time?
I think you should show us.
Okay. What about 4?
Probably not.
Okay. So 3.8.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
So that's an open home. It's a good one because, like McClay and others have said, like open homes are the best form of prospecting because people are coming to you. So that I learned from Oddie recently, like sales become sales. Sales become listings. So Oddie knows, and Oddie's a relationship type agent. He knows that if he looks after the open home aspect and the callbacks, then executes on the sale, he's likely to get things off the back of that. Can I throw a couple at you, just to be annoying? I didn't have a good experience with your company.
Must have been with Adrian.
How do you get around that?
If I could, I would actually invite the person into the office to speak and have a coffee face to face.
I'm happy to, but I just had not a great experience. Our house was managed with your company and it wasn't good.
Tell me more.
The rent wasn't whatever, and property manager never called us, and I know you sell a lot in the area, but I had a pretty poor experience.
And sorry, are you considering a sale or are you considering taking a management
Sale.
elsewhere? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're considering a sale. You've had a poor experience with BresicWhitney so far. Who else are you considering?
Ray White and Cobden Hasten.
Okay. And considering the sale is important to you, financially, perhaps emotionally as well, what's the most important thing to you when having someone stand there and represent your most valuable asset?
I want to know that I can trust them and that we're going to get the best price.
Yeah. Okay. Are you open to considering us, or have you made your decision based on your bad experience? And I apologise for that. But are you open to considering us?
Possibly, but I just want you to know now that you guys are running second or third.
I understand. Okay. Well, look, I'll just say up front, I apologise. It's certainly not the way the business wants to operate, or how I want to operate as an individual. And I'd love 15 minutes of your time to come and see you, just to perhaps give you a different version of BresicWhitney myself.
I like it. You're the lowest on price and highest in fee.
Lowest on price and highest on fee.
Yeah, you've told me that I've had two other agents who've suggested a higher figure. They've told me 4 to 4.5. You're telling me 3.5 to 4. You're telling me you're 1.9%. I can get 1.5% from those guys.
Okay, I understand. So in terms of, let's just talk about the price briefly. In terms of the price, when you say I've said X and the others said Y, are we talking about the same comparable sales, what's on the market currently? Is there any sort of evidence behind how they've come up with those figures?
They shared a couple with Whitney,
Yeah.
and it seemed...
What's your expectation of value?
Well, I'm listening to the professionals. 4 and 4.5 seemed... I want the best price.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm worried that you're going to put a limitation on the value of my home if you think it's only 3.5 to 4.
Yeah, I understand. Look, I think what I would say is we have found, and I've sold twice as many as my nearest competitor, so I've got a pretty good helicopter view of the market right now. We have found that the market is doing a bit of this. So rather than getting too caught up on the price now, because we don't know, it could be 3.8, it could be 4.4, why don't we spend the first 7 days getting all the best 4 to 4.5 buyers through the house? Because I'd love to be wrong, it could be 4 to 4.5. But rather than us trying to sort of work out exactly what it is right now, why don't we spend the first 7 days getting 10 qualified buyers through the house that have got those budgets, and then we'll know, from there where the pricing actually sits.
Okay, well that deals with the price, but what about the commission?
Yeah, I am typically marginally dearer than my competitors.
How come?
Because I think we offer a better service and we get the best prices. And again, I think what's important...
That's what the other agent said.
Yeah, but I think... So if you look at the statistics, myself and the other two agents, and I'm not trying to be sort of critical here of the others, they're good agents too, but I think if you look at the results, respectfully, there's sort of daylight between us and the others right now. So I think what's important to consider is do the sums on your 4 million. I'm saying I'm 1.95%, they're saying 1.5%. There's probably, my maths is awful, I don't know, there could be a $20,000 difference. I'm convinced that I can make you a lot more than 20 grand. So rather than trying to select the cheapest agent right now that could actually cost you more at the finish line, why don't we work out who's going to get you the best price? Now, perhaps I'm prepared to be flexible on that, but if I've just spent the last 40 minutes telling you how much value I can add to your sale and then I agree to the lowest fee, that just doesn't make sense. That's like going to a beautiful restaurant, having a 3-course meal, matching wines, and then the bill comes, it's only $50.
Yep.
So I think you get what you pay for. I'm happy to be flexible, but I do think it's important to compare apples with apples.
Is everyone enjoying the scripts and dialogues? Yeah, because we haven't done that. You can have this listing at 1.1%. Who gets that, by the way? Who's been proposed that? Sure. So you can have this listing, but made us 1.1%.
Yeah, I had that yesterday. I think I told you about this yesterday. I had that yesterday on a Zoom call. I'd already sold for the gentleman before. There was another agency managing the property. I wasn't able to get in front of him. I reverted to my previous agency agreement with him, which was 2 years ago, and it was 1.75% at $3.5 million. The other agent was actually below 1%, but let's just call it 1%. I have learned, again through Ivan and through others, that each listing needs to be assessed on its merits. So is it in my core market? Is the client nice? Is there someone I want to spend the next 6 weeks with? Are they motivated? What's the value? So I look at the whole thing.
How much stock you've got.
How much stock I've got, etc. So I made the assessment yesterday because we've had a pretty good run of sales and we're a little bit lighter on it as we stock. And I said to myself, do I want the listing? Yes, it's in my core market. The bloke's motivated and it's a good house. It's a $3 million house. So I said the same thing. I said, look, I can't agree to the fee the other agents provided you because, again, that would derail my value proposition and I strongly believe that I can add more value than the other agent. I am prepared to be flexible. If we could agree on a fee right now, can I send you an agency agreement in the next 30 minutes for you to digitally sign? He said yes. So therefore, the decision was easier for me to adjust my fee because I was like, well, he's prepared to go with me if I can shift on my fee. Yeah. So I discounted it and he signed the agreement.
Nice one. You don't sell in this area. You don't sell in this area.
Tell me.
I'm making this hard, but this is good.
Tell me why that's important to you to have someone that does sell in the area.
Because I would think that a more local agent would have more buyers.
Do you think that once it's up on realestateanddomain.com, a buyer is specific about a blue signboard, a purple signboard, a multicoloured signboard?
Probably not, but what if they don't check the website? What if they've just got local buyers?
Well, I think a local buyer would buy through any agency. I've never heard a buyer say to me, I'd only buy through BresicWhitney or McGrath. So my view is this, I have sold a few properties out of area. I've sold in Freshwater, I've sold in North Sydney. My view is this, a local agent that sells the most perhaps might give you as the vendor a bit of comfort around that because there's track record, etc. My experience is this, a buyer doesn't care what colour the signboard is, as long as your agent is competent, confident, can answer questions, return phone calls, which I can do at a very high standard, then me selling, again, I've never had a buyer say to me, show me your track record. How many houses have you sold in Leichhardt or whatever it may be? So I think for me, I can sell just as well in out of area as I can in my current area. Yeah. What I can provide you, which the other agent can't, is buyers from outside of the area. So rather than just focusing on this little pocket that we're talking about here, what about we talk about buyers from other suburbs?
Yeah. Buyers follow houses, not the agents, is what you're saying. That's a good one. Hey, what's been the most challenging time in your life?
Any more of these?
This is different now.
The most challenging time in my life.
Do you want to put a sweat on you?
No. I think making the transition from a business point of view, making the transition from Cobden Hasten to BresicWhitney I found really difficult. I found it difficult because I came from an office that had big market share to an office that had no office and no market share, so it was a big leap of faith. I found it difficult because we just had our first child and I had a level of security around me and then I went off and had nothing. So I found that incredibly challenging, but I remember Adrian said to me, I was on the phone one night with him, I was actually in tears, like it was really confronting. And he said to me, unless you go through these moments of challenge, pain, you'll never grow. So you can't see it right now, but you're in growth mode. And I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, you're in growth mode, trust me, this is the best thing you'll ever do.
Good advice.
And it was, yeah.
Great advice. If an agent sells 20 properties a year, what would your advice be to them?
Again, it comes back to what's important to you. That agent might be really happy at 20 properties a year.
No, I would definitely want to sell more.
You want to sell more?
I want to get to 50.
Yeah. I think I would assess their level of commitment because there is no doubt that...
But I'm working 8 till 6 every day, 5 days a week. I'm going around the open homes on Saturdays from 9 till 3. I don't get it.
Who's your 10 best buyers?
I'll show you.
You got 10 best buyers?
Yeah.
People that are going to buy in the next 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah? What's your biggest challenge? Why do you think you're at 20 and not at 50?
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm at work every day. I'm making calls.
Do you have a team around you? Do you seek out mentorship from business owners?
I can't afford a team at this stage. And I see my boss a little bit, and I try to listen to YouTube stuff.
You should get Ivan Bressig as a coach.
I agree. But there is an aspect about Andrew when I was role playing with him. He's and it's hard to do in front of your peers. It's really hard. It's difficult, isn't it, Damo? It's really hard. If you're here and I'm putting the blowtorch on him saying, mate, 1.1%, you don't sell in this area, it's really hard. He just stayed calm and worked it through. But that comes with time. How many years have you been doing this?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes with time, takes time. Who were your real estate heroes, Andy?
Well, I think it started with Damo. I've always admired Damo's career. And then, Adrian, as I said, has been, without doubt, the biggest influence. And then I said to Ivan earlier, I've been deliberate, but I've also been very fortunate that my journey has allowed me to spend time and learn from, in my opinion, the greats. I mean, I spent years with Ivan, Shannon, Will Phillips I still speak to, Maclay I'm very close to. So Will Goss, Shannon, the list goes on. So I've been really fortunate that I've surrounded myself with those people, but I've also, in the early days when perhaps I was in an environment that had those sort of high-performing people, I'd go and seek them out. I'd text Ben Collier, mate, you don't know me, but can I have 15 minutes of your time? I found that no one has said no. So I would often, and still do, reach out to people that are performing better than me to learn.
Beautiful. I love that. You've grown your team from you to +1, +2, +3, +4. Now we're talking about not just a fifth, but maybe a sixth in the future. So that's all happened over several years, 8 or 9 years. When's the right time to put an associate on, and how has that impacted your business?
I think that the right time, I'll steal Will Phillips' line. I was watching a video of Will last night. The right time is before you need them, really, as hard as that is sometimes, because it's a big commitment financially, but it's also a big responsibility too. Yeah. Having someone in your team 6 days a week that you're in many ways responsible for their career and journey and growth. So I think you need to be mentally ready for it. You probably need to put your first person on before you're ready, so that you can alleviate your time to do the more dollar productive stuff. But yeah, I've been, again, very fortunate, perhaps deliberate, but certainly very fortunate to attract and have some amazing people in my team that have been around for a long time. And there's no way that as a team and as a group we could be doing what we're doing from a volume point of view, but also just from a sort of progression point of view without the people around me. Yeah. Well done, mate. Great team. And they're good. How's your leadership changed? Because you've become a better leader as well. Is it just experience? Is it wins and losses, or? Wins and losses, experience. Again, I have to credit the BresicWhitney system, if you want to call it that, because it was, as much as BresicWhitney was and is a high-performing business, it's also about how do you be a good person? How do you be a good leader? How do you grow those around you? How do you learn? How do you teach? How do you demonstrate? So I've been very fortunate to be in that space, which is incredibly valuable. And how do you deal with rejection when you get it? It used to burn me. God, for my first few years, I reckon I'd go home. It really used to get to me. Now my skin has been thickened, and I just know that whether you're Ivan Bressic, Adrian Liddell, John McGrath, you can't win everything. And you either make the decision to wallow in it and carry on like a turkey, or you accept that you weren't good enough and they made a decision for other reasons, and you do something positive about it. So the last listing I lost a couple of days ago, I'd already had my buyer list and my sort of 5 best buyers who I thought would buy that house. As soon as I got the call, I tried in a respectful way to turn it around. I never pushed too hard because I think that's just a bit much. Yeah. But I tried my best to understand why. I tried my best to turn it. I knew I wasn't going to, so that was cool. So I said, guys, I wish you well. My next 5 phone calls were to the 5 best buyers. Guys, just so you know, I've just missed this piece of business, but it's a cracker house. It's coming up with X, Y, Z. I'll actually text you that agent's number. You should call him now and try and get a bit of a sneak preview because it's coming to market next week. And you do that because you're hoping that that'll come back? I do it because it's the right thing to do, first and foremost. Secondly, from a buyer relationship point of view, I've had that many people come back to me and say, wow, that's not even your listing, but you're telling me about it. That's incredible. So they'll remember that. And then you just never know. You never know. My view is long term, and my view is that, and then it came online, I sent the vendor a text, Katrina, photos look amazing, I wish you well with the campaign. Now, I'm not doing that because I'm hoping it's going to fall over, I'm going to take it over second time round, but if heaven forbid it doesn't go to plan and they still sell it, they'll sell again in 5 years' time when they're separating or moving out of Sydney or whatever it may be, and they might think of me again. That's a bit dark, but
He's taking a long-term view on that. So everyone you meet is an opportunity. And so he's just taking a long-term view. Some you'll win and they'll fall in your pocket, and some they'll go the other way. But you want to... I didn't mind losing business, by the way, in my real estate career. I never minded it. But I wanted to be second. And so if someone said, Ivan, you just missed, thanks for calling, but we already listed last week. I was like, okay, cool. Or if I fought for business, being second was okay. We're gone with someone else, but if we didn't go with you, if we didn't go with them, we would have gone with you. Because things change and there's opportunities that open. How many sales did you do in September?
12.
So 12 deals. Did an off-market deal last week for just under 10. And he said, mate, this business is so bloody good. I was with McLean Milan a few months ago, and I don't think he's here, so I can say it, but we went into a shop and he dropped $30,000 on suits.
Jesus.
30,000 euro.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were showering with champagne, and they didn't want him to leave. And the whole time I was watching that, and I was just thinking, I remember this kid and what we were doing 15 years ago, and they were treating him that way. But he's earned that. Andrew does a sale last week for 10 million at 1.8% fee. So he gets paid the better part, total fee, 170 odd thousand. And he gets
school fees.
Straight school fees. Either way, good schooling. But that's amazing. That's what this business can do. Now he thinks that it was good execution for a week. I think that sale took 15 years to do. So he goes, shit, man, I've done 12 deals. I did $600,000 this month, I did 700. That's 15 years that it took to do that. So it is a journey, and it's hats off to you. I think I love some of the other heroes that are here and my friends. I think you're the most inspirational, and I want you to know that.
Thanks, mate.
As a parent, you're like I said, you're a really good human. And everyone who knows you well, I don't know, mate, I know you must have good family and good whatever, because you're just a good person, mate.
Thanks, bud.
You really are.
Appreciate it.
Love you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those moments. It is. Now, I remember, and when I made an announcement to leave BresicWhitney, and Andrew rang me, and he started crying on the phone. He goes, mate, I didn't know.
Like cry a lot, doesn't it?
Well, him and I are similar. We're very passionate, so you would see the oddies too. And so he rang me and he started crying. He goes, mate, we're just going to miss you. You've been so important. And I'll never forget that. Like I reciprocated that emotion. I thought, shit, I've made a big decision here because some of these people I love dearly and I'm going to be heading off. So I'm really grateful that we're close, that we can do this, that you're crushing it, and you deserve it. You're very humble as well. So you are a good human and you deserve that. I hope you've enjoyed Andy. Good guy, huh?
Very good.
Yep. Round of applause.
Thank you.